got your contractor, so it's kind of like a triangle, the connection, when it comes to us doing business. So that's how that pretty much works. So, the format of the class, I mean, we're gonna be here maybe an hour and a half, depending on questions and interaction. The whole, format of the class is a series of information, a series of videos. I provided you enough information to answer the questions and for us to get through the material. Okay, we all do it together. All right? So everybody should pass. This picture right here is our headquarters. CERT is based in Malcolm, Pennsylvania. For the U.S., we're actually a French company. Our headquarters, our parent company is in Paris, France. And this is the building in France. Okay, we've been around 360 years. It was the birthday this year. Originally, they made glass for the kings in the 1600s. So Versailles, a lot of famous glass tourist attractions that are in Paris, that's our product. In the U.S., Dallas Cowboys Stadium, that roof, that's CERT product. Budweiser, those bottles, that's our product. That's what a lot of people don't know. We have 6 other business units, so we don't just cover roofing. We also cover siding, ceilings, drywall, and insulation.
Can you say that one time, the Budweiser beer,
The Budweiser beer bottles.
that's yours too?
That's
yours?
same way.
Okay.
Yes. If you ever get a chance to go to our headquarters, Donovan, they have an innovation center in the building, and every piece of this building is our products. Like this glass right here, they have a remote control where they can shade the glass if the sun is shining too much in the building. A lot of the walls. So you know how like you at work and somebody had fish for dinner the night before. They heat their food up in the microwave at the job and sticking up the whole building, right? So our drywall, we have a type of drywall that soaks up and over, and it does not float outside that general area. Like it absorbs the smells and keeps it from spreading throughout the entire building. Like, we use a lot of innovation and technology in our products. We also make abrasive stuff for bicycle parts. Like, we touch every industry that exists. Aviation, hospitals, you name it. You can see it's on our website. So you can go to CERT.com if you want more information. And CERT, we also were 121 years old. So they went to North America in 1904. So I say that to say we don't think we're going anywhere. Our product's pretty solid. No, so this is the thing, we don't make the modular homes. They're starting to get into that because they're getting into a lot of building science now. So they are trying to, they do have some of those, they're not, I don't even know if they're referring to them as modular homes, but they do have like some pre-built things that they are testing.
Make them and then send them to me.
Yeah, so we actually have a whole building science series, if you're a nerd like I am. That's just that they
Give me some topics and then I can.
that comes out like every other week. And it's a podcast, and they talk about like the science of buildings and construction and architecture.
There's 5 categories. 25. And then just send it to me.
It's just the test. That was the program, the standard program that I told you that I created and that I was running. This map right here is very important because it shows the location of all of our manufacturing plants of asphalt shingles in the U.S. There's one right here in Peachtree City. So there are lots of job opportunities there in the industry. We need scientists. We need research and development. We need engineers. We need people that are just computer or tech savvy that can run the equipment that are at these plants because they're top of the line. So while everybody else shut down, and we shut down since during COVID, we decided invest more money in our plants. So Peachtree City just launched a grand reopening, and they just, Oxford, North Carolina is very important too because, it's the largest manufacturer of asphalt shingles in the world. And they just added another 118,000 square feet for a, glass mat plant to make our own glass mat. We're trying to do everything internal. Yeah. So, that includes the asphalt, that includes, if you know the anatomy of a shingle, the glass mat is like the foundation. And so we're gonna have our own plant to make our own glass mat. So those are the plans for Oxford. And then, sorry, we go in my machine over here. All right, and Shakopee is interesting because it produces product the fastest in Minnesota. All right, when you go to distribution, all of our packages will have this symbol on it, and it represents each one of these red dots that's on the map. So when a contractor is going to purchase product, they'll skim it to make sure that every package has the same plant on it. Because ours is, you know, like sometimes it's individual codes. For certainty, it's not. It's to that, it's specific to that plant. So it don't matter what color you get out there, they're all gonna be the same. Like the colors will be the same. So there won't be variation unless there was like some issue with the machine or something like that. This yellow one represents our, because we make commercial product also, not just residential. And they are based out of Little Rock, Arkansas. And then we have some facilities that store granules, as well. 2 facilities, and that's the 2 green dots here. All right, I like to share this picture because it actually shows us side by side inside the package with our competitors. So this is just one type of shingle that we make. It's called Lambert. It's like the most popular shingle that we make. We got like you know how everything when you buy cars, like good, better, best, right? You got your basic, which is good, in the middle, and so for Landmark, there are 3 levels to it. You got your regular Landmark, Landmark Pro, Landmark Premium. This is regular old Landmark compared to GAF product, one of our competitors. Owens Corning. Everybody knows Owens Corning is the Pink Panther. You see it at Home Depot, Lowe's, all of that. And that's what also is the difference. Right now, we're only available at distribution. You can't buy it off the shelf at the store. And that's why we buy design. Okay? But we are in the process, like we have no other choice but to get into the retail market.
How you doing?
Because Home Depot purchased SRS, which is one of the biggest distributors. So it's forcing us to have to come up with some type of plan for our product to be available at Lowe's and Home Depot. And that's something that they're still working on, okay? All right, and this is, like I said, an image is worth 1,000 words. And when you see that this is thicker than the other ones, what that really means is we have more asphalt, we have more granules. The asphalt in a shingle is to protect from the weather, okay? The granules are protection from the sun, okay? So that's what the materials inside of the shingle, the whole purpose of them are. So when you have more asphalt and you have more granules, that's more protection against the elements outside. All right, so we're about to get into it. Open your books to page 11. Page 11. So the format of this exam, all of the questions that are in the book are not on this test sheet. This is a shorter version. You can do all the questions in your book on your free time, for fun, or whatever you want to do. Okay, but Right now for the class, we'll just follow this as a guide for which questions we're gonna answer. So, the first section pretty much covers safety and workmanship, okay? So, from a perspective of safety and workmanship, you always want to make sure that your ladder extends above the eaves by like 3 to 3.5 feet. And you gotta make sure that there is 1 foot for every 4 feet of vertical rise, okay? When it comes to the position of the ladder on the ground. Does she need a test sheet, a book? So she can take the test to, this is a test sheet. She can write one. Cause you know. I'm sorry, I can't listen. It's like, Alright, so let's go on over to the questions. So our first question. Alright, is 1-1. Ladder should extend above the eaves at 3 to 3.5 feet, true or false? Alright, go on your test sheet, circle A on your test sheet, here 1-1. It's a simple set, nothing exciting, nothing spectacular, 1-1 is A, true, alright? 1-2, the safest ladder is the foot of the ladder should be away from the wall 1/4 of the wall's height or 1/6. A, very, very good. And I do like participation. And 1-3 is kind of like common sense, so on a roof that's higher than 6 feet, above a lower level, the use of guardrails, safety nets, personal safety equipment is required. Personal fall arrest systems are required. Is that true or false? That is true. That is a OSHA regulation. You got a test sheet? Or is your book is better? And you got your test sheet, right? Okay, yeah, you follow along. So 1-1 is A, and 1-2 is A, and 1-3 is A. And just when you get a chance, fill out the left side. That's how you get credit for the class, right? And whatever address you put there, that's where your certificate is going to be sent to the 3 weeks after we're done, okay? And even if you like not that industry, just a student, you put student, and we'll put Raising Georgia Roots Program, okay? All right. So we were done with section 1. Y'all good. We moved along fast. All right. So that was safety and workmanship, pretty much. Section 2. Go to page 20 in the book. Section 2 is basically about what we call a roof system. So in the eyes of certainty, when you install a roof, it's a system. It's not just all these different parts and pieces from different companies. You use we recommend, and every manufacturer will say, we recommend you use all the parts and pieces that you need for a roof. How many people kind of know or what the parts and pieces are when you're up for a roof? You want to share that with us? Okay, yep, you're on the right track. So, there's actually a picture on the back of your book, and for certainty, it's called the Integrity Roof System. The IRS, not the government, they ain't gonna get you, but that's the easy way to remember. Certainty's roof system is the IRS, Integrity Roof System. So, inspect the deck, like you mentioned the deck. The roof deck is just that plywood that you see before they put anything on the roof. That is the roof deck, okay? So a contractor's responsibility is to inspect the deck, make sure there is no damage. If there is damage, they need to fix it or replace that piece of wood. And there's another type of material that we use for the roof deck besides plywood, and it's called OSB. And that's the oriented string wood. And that's the wood that looks like it's like pressed together. And it's like all these different pieces. So those are other acceptable forms for basic acceptable forms for a roof deck. There are lots of others. It's detailed out in this book. We don't have free time, but the two main ones is plywood and OSB, which stands for oriented string board. All right? So, I'm going to show you a video about CertainTeed's integrity roof system. Let's go over the different parts before we do that. So, you got your roof deck. The first thing that you put on the roof deck is what they call ice and water. Okay? Ice and water is a water-resistant shield that you use to cover the edges of the roof in any penetrations or anywhere water might be able to get into, like around the chimney, or those round pipes that you see sticking out of the roof. Put ice and water around there so that water can't get in. Because if there's a space or opening, water will find its way in. So you have to secure those parts of the roof before you start installing all the other parts. Okay? The second part is what's called the underlayment. Back in the day, it was called felt, because it was made of felt paper, but now everything is synthetic. So, of course, we have two levels of that for CertainTeed. The first one, we have Winter Guard and Lifeguard. Those are two options, that you can choose from. Lifeguard is more expensive than Winter. And then you have, for your underlayment, it's called Roof Runner or Downward. Okay? Then you do your starter sheet. Okay? Starter shingle is third. Okay? And then you put the shingles on. Then you gotta make sure you have proper ventilation, and you gotta do your hip and ridge. Okay? Ventilation is very important. There's usually, nobody has time to do that, but there's usually a calculation for knowing how much air you need to enter and attic or escape for proper ventilation. Because if something comes up with that roof, and we figure out that there was something wrong with the ventilation, we give you a warranty. Okay? So our warranty pretty much is limited lifetime, which is basic. Every manufacturer says that. And what's kind of sad is limited lifetime in reality is 10 years. That's it. And then the rest of it is prorated. And our warranties are transferable warranties. So if you have a homeowner, you bought the house, you stayed in the house 5 years, they got 5 more years left on the warranty. It can transfer to them if they purchase that house. That's what that means, to transfer them. Okay? So let's get into this video, and it covers all the parts of the integrity roof system.
Okay. Your home memories provides comfort and shields you from illness. Structural investments in products designed to cover what you value most. The CertainTeed Integrity Roof System combines proven components that ensure your roof provides lasting performance and peace of mind. Here's how it works. We start with a waterproofing underlayment, which creates a watertight barrier at vulnerable areas of your roof. This helps prevent leaks that can damage your home. Next, a high-performance, water-resistant underlayment is installed across the entire roof deck. This layer repels moisture and acts as a secondary barrier against leaks. After underlayment, the first course of starter shingles are installed. These cover the most wind-vulnerable areas of the roof. Working in tandem with the shingles above them, they help prevent shingle blow-off. CertainTeed shingles are next. They come in a variety of brilliant styles and color blends that are sure to complement your home, no matter your budget. All of our house shingles exceed industry standards, ensuring you're getting the highest quality products for your home. The roofing believes is roofers perform better and last longer. Certainty bridge vents can combine with solid elevation vents, and even a balanced ventilation system that allows air to flow through your attic. Proper ventilation keeps the attic dry over the winter and cooler in the summer, reducing your energy bills. 95 fridge accessory shingles are installed on the roof's head and ridge lines. Designed to complement your roof shingles, they provide the same level of protection and durability. No matter what the weather throws your way, you'll have peace of mind knowing your home is protected for many years to come. Insist on quality. Insist on performance. Insist on the certainty integrity roof system. For more information, talk to your contractor or visit certainty.com/roofing.
So, let's jump right into the questions. So I'm gonna give you a little more information before we jump into the questions, okay? Remember, when we looked at the map, all of our codes, it's not per bundle, it's just according to the plan. So we don't require, there are no individual codes on the package. Now, something else about codes is within the package, each shingle has a code number. Because if there's an issue with the roof, and you call your service rep or whoever for help, tech support, they're gonna ask you, hey, send me a sample. Cut near, it is like a tape, a piece of tape on the back. It has our name, the name, certainty on it, so that you know it's our shingle. Because we're one of the only manufacturers that does that. It has certainty on it, and it has a series of numbers and letters, and you can give that code to the person on the phone. They can identify the time, the person, the date that shingle was made, and go ahead and eliminate, like, okay, there was something wrong with the machine, if there's a problem, okay? All right, and the name of our warranty is called Sure Start. That's the name of our warranty. So we've got the integrity roof system, and you have to use all of our products because we have like certain programs that contractors can get in to get more benefits from us, and they have to use every part of the integrity roof system in order to participate and get those benefits from that program, and that's our extended warranties, which we can offer, because we have, and they just revamped the program, they're all 50-year. Yeah, so we have 50-year warranties, of just different models that you can offer clients. Now we use all the parts. Yes, all the parts and pieces. And they actually changed that a few years ago, to even say, even if you're not credentialed or don't have our full certification, that you have to use all the certainty, unless they send out a special letter. Like when certain stuff wasn't available, they said you could substitute different things for different parts and pieces. But that was it. It's on like special situations. So 2-2, certainty does not require that all the date codes back on our models apply to the same. Is that true or false? Remember, it does not require. Right, so it's, no. Remember, it's to the plant. Remember, it's specific to the plant, so it's true. It said it does not require, we don't require all of them to be the same. Because it's, oh, yeah. That's like extra information, yeah. That's not in the book, that people don't know that when they can get assistance, if they have like a complaint. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. And so that was true. So 2-4, the certainty integrity roof system specs must be followed to qualify for a Sure Start Plus warranty. That is true. Very good. There are no questions in section 3, so we're going to go on to section 4. And that is roof bearer. So turn to page 37. And that's section 4. So, like I said, there's numerous types of acceptable materials. You can refer to the book, but the main two that you will always see, unless it's an older home, because they have some different type of things going on sometimes, is plywood or OSB. That's wood board, it's the same. So, the minimum thickness, and nobody will ever really use plywood is thick, because you have to remember that shingles are heavy. And so that roof deck has to be solid enough to hold those shingles that you're installing on top of that wood, right? So, for plywood, the minimum though, that we'll accept under our warranty is 3/8 of an inch. But in reality, most contractors start with at least half inch. With at least half inch thickness. But for certainty, the minimum is 3/8 for plywood and 7/16 of an inch for the OSB strand board. Okay? And like I had explained before, it's up to the contractor to inspect that roof deck first. Okay? Because they're not really going to call on you if there's a problem in the future. So, with that being said, you got two options with certainty. If the roof deck is bad, you fix it. Okay, make sure the surface is smooth, or you just replace that entire piece and put it on together. Those are the options. So it's kind of a tricky that, okay, yeah, you can nail over an unacceptable deck, but if you fix it or replace the wood, then it's acceptable. Okay? All right, so we'll go to these questions. All right, 4.1. Certainty requires that the minimum thickness for plywood is half an inch and OSB is 7/16. True or false? One right answer is false. Yeah, see the deck, if they apply for it at a half, remember, but the minimum is 3/8. All right, so that's false. That one is B. Got a few little trick questions in there. All right, 4-3, certainty allows the application of a nailable deck over an unacceptable. What y'all think? It's one of the trick questions. You said false for everything. It's true, because if you do what? Fix it or replace it, it's acceptable. So, yeah, I know. Don't look at me like that. I get it every day. Spanish and English. So yes, in this class, this is true. Yeah, it's kind of like unspoken. All right, so the next section is underlaid. Go to page 47 for those questions. This particular video is about the newest addition to the Certainty family for underlayment. This was the ice and water that we were talking about, the Vicor. And it's just a new material that we purchased about a couple of years ago that qualifies as one of the products now. That people can use in the integrity system, okay? And then we'll go over some more information after this.
Certainty's Grace Vicor series features high-density, cross-laminated, polyethylene film surface products. Select Isomer Shield and Isomer Shield HD are manufactured with an aggressive rubberized asphalt adhesive, and on the other side, removable foldless release paper with ripcord technology. Ultra is manufactured with an aggressive 100% butyl rubber adhesive and a removable split release film on the underside. Measurement markings are conveniently printed on the top film surface. Smaller measurement markings are located every 6 inches, and longer markings are located every 12 inches. Side lapse will be noted by a solid line running parallel to the sheet. The dashed line next to it is for positioning of the paper or film with the next successive sheet. Manufactured to meet the requirements of ASTM D1970 or AC48, brace cyclone membranes seal around fasteners as they are driven through it, and are warranted against manufacturing defects for the same warranty duration as the shingles piled above. Brace cycle is applied along the eaves and up the roof, no less than 24 inches beyond the interior wall line. In areas susceptible to snow and ice, referred to as ice makers, brace cycle must be applied high enough to prevent water infiltration from undermounting the game. There are two acceptable installation methods, with all end laps being a minimum of 6 inches, and horizontal laps a minimum of 3.5 inches. If utilizing the rear feature, located at the center of the membrane, conveniently marked with a line that says "Sport Release and Remain." Peel back 2 to 3 inches of the release paper, stretch the membrane using both hands, which goes to tip the ripcord, and then carefully pull the ripcord out of the membrane, creating a split release and remain. Pass the ripcord under and continue to enroll the material while using the ripcord to split the release paper. Remove the release paper one side at a time. The conventional method. Starting flush to the roof edge, or wrap down the fascia. Unroll a manageable length of membrane with release paper in place. Cut and re-roll. Peel back 1 to 2 feet of the release paper and adhere the membrane to the deck. Advance the membrane until the attached release paper is visible. Grab hold of the release paper and pull straight back to install the remainder of the roll. The back roll method. Starting flush to the roof edge, or wrap down the fascia, tack the membrane in place with release paper still attached. Unroll a manageable length and lightly score the release paper across the full width of the roll. Care should be taken to not cut into the membrane itself. Peel back an approximate 6-inch tab of the release paper to expose the adhesive. Hold the release paper and pull the membrane, adhering it to the deck. Cut your required length and then return to the original section and remove the fasteners. Roll up the membrane so you can grab the 6-inch tab. Peel the release paper straight back and press the membrane into place. For additional information on the Brace Vico series, please refer to Chapter 5 of the SAM or contact Servitude's Roofing Technical Services Department.
Okay, so when they say refer to the same, I'm talking about it's the single applicator's manual, the same. So, so they gave you like 3 different ways to install that product. And the reason is it is super sticky. So if it's really hot outside, if you go ahead and stick it and then you need to reposition it a little bit, yeah, you might not be it. So that last cut, it might be the best to just like nail it a little bit before you know, to make sure that it's positioned correctly. It just depends, and that's why they give you the 3 different ways to install it, because it does get so sticky, and you definitely don't want it to stick to itself. Or you just might as well just cut that piece off and keep going, you know. All right, so let's continue talking about underlaying. So there are 2 types. You got your waterproof and you got your water resistance. The waterproofing is the ice and water. Cover the penetrations anywhere that a leak may happen. And then the water resistant is the other paper that'll go over it that's gonna cover the entire roof, okay? For the extra protection. On a roof deck, the in-laps on your underlayment is 6 inches. That's on the outside. And then for the side laps, it's 2 inches. Okay, and that's what this demonstrates here on this picture. Right here, this is talking about like your drippage. That's the edge of the roof that's right above the gutter. So depending on climate, they'll tell you to install it under or over, but it depends on if you're in a cold climate or a pretty mild climate. Here, our suggestion is that you do it under the drippage, okay? Because of just where we are. This class is for the U.S. headquarters is in Pennsylvania. So if you're doing the class up north, they're gonna say the opposite. Over the trip, yes. 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 Yes, that is correct. So like I said, depending on where you are, that answer is gonna vary, but for this class, it'll be, under. And then, at the eaves, if there is a chance, for ice buildup, then you can install it, it says it, over in the cold lines, okay? If you get ice buildup. And here is another example, like you see these grayed out areas, so this right here is what's called a low slope roof. There are different measurements, for the inclination or the angle of the roof or the type of roof. When I start showing some of the videos for installation method, you'll see the chart, and the chart is within your book, but anything that you see is 4.5 or 2.5, that's considered, anything 4.5 or lower is considered low slope, now, or what's called a flat. So when you have something that's flat like this, a porch or whatever, or either a big building that's just a flat roof that doesn't have any angle, that you see at like schools and hospitals and stuff like that, you have to put ice and water over the entire surface because the water can pool on a flat roof. So when it's a flat or what we call low slope, you have to cover the entire surface. And that's what this means. All these penetrations around the skylight, around this is called piping. In the corners, these are the valleys. This is called the valley. Along the east, like on the outside, but also along the rates, which is this part, which is not included in this diagram because they changed the law, or they changed the rules a few years ago. They just haven't updated the pictures. With ice and water. Yes, that is correct. And that's the 412 and lower. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is correct. Because you can use low slope product on a residential roof. Because usually low slope product, like I said, is for hospitals to commercial. It's more common in commercial, so yeah, it's more common in commercial. So, but because we have granules and colors that match the shingles to the roof or that flat surface, but it has its own warranty, that portion, if you use that proper, because it's a whole different product. But, that's pretty much it for that, and what we cover. You can use the winter guard as a valley liner. See 412 and lower. Just reiterating everything that I just mentioned that's in the photo. So let's go back. There we go. And I mentioned the two different types of underlayment that we make. We make roof runner and diamond deck. But it's going to depend on the slope, how you install the product, and you have different ways to install it. The difference between roof runner and diamond deck, roof runner, let's say you put the cover on, or the underlayment, it starts raining. You can't get the shingles on right away. It can be exposed for 3 months, roof runner can. Diamond deck, the next level up, it can be exposed for up to 6 months if you can't get the shingles on right away. Okay? Because if it rains or whatever, they have to do is they have to wait until it dries out, and then, go back to installing the shingles. Okay? All right, so let's get to the questions. So 5-1. Very good. 5 was true. That is true. 5-1 is true. All right, 5-2. Joint overlaps. How many Okay. Let me get you a book and a test sheet. I hope I still have some English in here. I might have to- Okay, so I have an English test sheet and a Spanish book. That's correct. Is that English? Yeah. And I'll get you a book or maybe look those. All right. So 5-3, all shingles applied as to a low slope bed require the use of winter guard or light, or its equivalent applied to the entire bed. That is true, very good. All right.
Can you say the question again?
This one's about, low slope. All shingles applied to a low slope deck require the use of winter guard or Vicor, or its equivalent, applied over the entire deck. All right? That is true. And at the eaves, if there's a chance of snow, ice buildup in the gutters, if possible, install winter guard or Vicor. And I think I have that is under the drip edge, because this one is true. Yes, that's right. So it's the opposite, I remember what I said before.
Okay, so,
So if it's a chance of the ice buildup in the cold climates, install it under.
gotcha.
But if, you know, because we're in a warmer climate, the most common install method is to put the drip in, is to put it over the drip edge. So Michigan, they probably put it under, because you gotta remember, when they have the ice buildup and the accumulation, you know, it expands up. But when you got liquid form, it runs down on the roof. Okay, so that's why. And it can get up under there, if, you know, you install it the other way in the cold climate. Okay? Yes, this is true. 5-4 is A. 5-4 is A. All right, this next section is flashing valleys, walls, and chimneys. These are just like best practices for flashing. First of all, shingles do not leak. If you have a leak that leaks, majority of the time, it's at a penetration or at the flashing, okay? Most of certainty shingles, the valleys is that portion that's kind of like where it leads, looks like a V. Yeah, it's coming down at the corners of a roof. We prefer what's called a closed cut on that, because some of our shingles are either too big or too thick to overlap on the top of each other. And that's why we call it a closed cut back. Two changes in 2018, the IRC, International Residential Code, is who regulates the roofing industry, pretty much. So in 2018, they changed it as to where, because a lot of the stuff you'll see, they'll just put the ice and water on the eaves, on the edges. No, it's the rates and the eaves now, since 2018, according to International Residential Code. Okay, so the eaves is the part that's like flat, going straight across the front, and then the rates is like up the side, the slope side. But that's what they recommend. This is also where, penetrations and walls, I just showed you that picture around the pipe roofs, around the skylights. And the book has detailed drawings in section 6, about the flashing. And so the biggest thing you need to know in this last paragraph, 2018, they also changed the specs for flashing. It used to be 2x2, like 2 inches wide, 2 inches high. And that's that part that you'll see like angle going up a chimney or up the side. Yeah, it looks like steps, it's step fashion. And it's 4x4 is the minimum. Yes, and that changed in 2018. recommend, like or winter guard for icy water as a valley marker also. Like you can line it down with that. I mean, it lines up with where you put that for penetrations for the protection from leaks and stuff. So 6-1, 2018 IRC, that's the International Residential Code, specifies that drip edge must be installed at the roof eaves and roof edges. That's true. Oh, that's true. Think about that. All right. All right, 6-2. Base flashing using a vertical front wall must A, be continuous piece of metal up to 10 feet in length. B, be embedded in asphalt plastic cement. C, extent of the wall is 4 inches. Or D, all of the above. C is correct, but it includes all of the rest of it, so it's D, it's all of the above. That's the most common answer we give them. 6-3, cap flashing, continuous counter flashing, and surface mounted, I forgot, we used this, there are 3, methods of flashing these don't choose. So cap flashing, continuous counter flashing, and surface mounted counter flashing are 3 flashing methods used on a chimney. That's true. That's correct. 6-5, winter guard or Vicor or equivalent is recommended as a valley marker. That is true. 6-7. No, we're not doing that thing. The 2018 IRC, International Residential Code, specifies and certainty recommends that step flashing should be at least 4 inches high and 4 inches wide. It is true. That is correct. All right, let's go to chapter 7, which is ventilation. Page 73, 73 is where the questions are. Page 73. So now the rest of the class is on the video, so I don't have to talk as much. It's fine, but the most important thing about ventilation is please remember, if there's an issue and you discover there's a problem with ventilation, then they can void the warranty. I mean, give me a discretion of the person that's assisting you, but it depends on the situation. Like, an example of that is, so, yes,
So, Sean is asking, how does it really work?
okay, yeah, I was about to give you an example. Okay, so for example, you're the contractor, you install the roof, the customer decides, I'm doing a remodel on my bathroom. I need a new vent in the bathroom. And that new vent is not installed properly and causes damage and moisture to build up under the roof. That's their problem. Not yours. But make sure, and we tell our contractors, make sure it's in your contract. If they don't have proper ventilation, it could be what it wants. You need to do everything in writing to protect your business and to protect yourself, okay? And that's one of those things that we recommend. And it is, the other thing with ventilation is you'll see people have those old, what we call it, yeah, the turbine fan, you go top of the house. But the newer, you know, a lot of the newer installations upgraded to these ridge units or different vents that you can put on top of the house. They're more, they look better, more aesthetic, yeah, they look flat, you know. But some people just want to hold on to these little, and what they don't understand is that affects the ventilation. It's not gonna let the air escape properly. It's just gonna recycle hot or cold or whatever air is trapped in there up under the roof deck, and it can cause damage to their roof deck. Y'all remember, the roof deck is just wood, okay? So even from a sales perspective, we tell people, if you're even selling to a home, or selling a roof, ask them, can you look in their attic? Because you can tell them if your roof deck has damage. If you see leaves inside of the attic, if you see anything from outside in the attic that they could have, or you can see stuff that you can't see, because everybody's not climbing on top of the roof. People use drones, you know, they're using apps from the ground, all kind of stuff. But if you look in the attic, you can see stuff that you can't see from the front. Yes. Light also is another indication that they may have just left too much space between, at the top of the ridge vent, between the insulation and the roof sheet. Because our recommendation for that is like just, about 1 inch. It should be wider than 1 inch. You know, you're gonna beam a light coming to the attic, because that, you know, that leaves openness for animals, elements, everything. So, that's just a good selling point if you're getting into the industry, you end up in sales or something, because most people don't ask a homeowner that, and that's what the set you apart from landing that job or not. And people be like, man, I talked to 10 people and ain't nobody asked me about my attic except this guy. And they're gonna remember that, okay? Because we're gonna buy from who they like. You make a good impression, find something in common, you know, ask them how their kids, if they got a pet, whatever, you know, anything that could bond you with that person or, you know, make you more credible in their eyesight or whatever. All right, so let's get into it. So this is the ventilation.
The importance of ventilation should not be undervalued. Proper adequate ventilation that meets building code is required for certainty warranty coverage. The well-designed ventilation system typically incorporates intake at the lower portion and exhaust at the upper portion, thus creating a flow of air, keeping attics cool in the warmer months and reducing moisture to keep attics dry in the colder months. The well-designed system ensures airflow will be distributed uniformly, with intake and exhaust fans being balanced, as well as minimizing the adverse effects on deck removal. It's important to never mix two types of exhaust fans. General ventilation requirements for certain teaching and warranty compliance are: if full intake unit ventilation is installed, the ratio of net free ventilation area to attic floor space must be at least 1 to 300. In most other cases, the ratio required is 1 to 150. If the 1 to 150 cannot be obtained, the shingle roof warranty for any CertainTeed asphalt composition shingle will be reduced to a maximum of 10 years without short-start protection with respect to shingle problems related to the absence of adequate ventilation. For additional information on ventilation, please refer to Chapter 7 of the SAM or contact CertainTeed Roofing Technical Services of Life.
Share this with you. So, if you ever have any doubt about how much net-free air that you need in an attic, we have that for you. So, this is free. It's on Android. It's in the Play Store. It's in the App Store. It's called the CertainTeed Roofing Ventilation Calculator. So, what you do is you just download the app. It has a pre-populated area of the squares of the roof. Most measurements is in squares, or you can manually enter it, and then tell you how much free air you need for intake and for output, okay? Coming in and going basic. And then it also calculates the accessories that you need on that top part of the roof, the vent, the ridge vent. It also tells you how much of that you're gonna need for a job.
I saw him in his head, I saw him in his head, Mark, like he called me, and gave him, said,
15 feet, however many feet you're gonna need, it'll tell you that. And you can also share it to the office, let's say you're in the field, and somebody in the office needs that information. You can share it, just like it's an email, you can share it on text, whatever. And you can also change the language, and have it to Spanish and French. They'll include, certainly don't include French on everything, because we based in France. So, right, so let's get down to the questions. All right, 7-1, a well-designed ventilation system will A, make your roof cooler in the summer. B, make the attic drier in the winter. C, help keep a more uniform temperature on the underside of the deck. And, or D, all of the above. All of the above, that is correct. 7-2, the minimum net free ventilation area should be 1/300 of the vented space, provided both of the following conditions are met. Number 1, in climate zone 6, 7, and 8, a class 1 or 2 vapor retarder is installed on the warm in winter side of the ceiling. 2, at least 40% and not more than 50% of the required ventilating area is provided by ventilators located in the upper portion of the attic or the wrapper space, with the balance of the required ventilation provided by eave or cornices. True or false? Yes, true.
I'm ready right now.
Question on this side of the true. Oh, yeah, they tell the truth on that one. All right. 7-4, when e-vents are installed, ensure at least 1 inch of spaces between the insulation and the roof sheet. Yeah, that's true. And 7-7, most important, never make 2 types of exhaust vents. That is true. So no birds with the little rig with the vents that go on top of the roof. Because it will not circulate properly. All right. So next, we're going to talk about fastening, which is basically for the owner. I think the questions are on page 77. Page 77, it's only one question in this, but it's so funny because this is the biggest complaint that we receive in customer service. It's about the mailing. Number 1 complaint, right here. Share this video, and we'll answer the question. It's one question.
Proper nail placement is important for showing performance and protection, as well as warranty eligibility. Certain TO rates require nail quantity and placement on the packaging of every bundle, and also lists this information in product-specific chapters of the same. Nailing locations vary by shingle style and roof slope. The use of asphalt roofing cement is required on slopes 21, 12, and greater. The building code should always be consulted for applicable fastening requirements. CertaTeed's general fastening guidelines are as follows. All nails must be corrosion resistant. The shanks must be 11 or 12 gauge with a head diameter of 3/8 of an inch. Shanks must be long enough to penetrate the shingle, then go 3/4 of an inch into solid wood, plywood, or non-veneered wood decking, or through the thickness of the decking, whichever is less. CertaTeed's premium and luxury shingle lines require longer nails. Fasteners should be driven straight, with heads flush to the shingle surface, and should not go into, above, or between the shingle self-sealing strips, with Highland slate being the exception. If the nail is underdriven, be sure to hammer it down flush. If the nail is overdriven, seal with asphalt roofing cement and drive another nail nearby. Fasteners must not be visible on the finished roof. For additional information on fastening, including information on stone and enhancing, please refer to Chapter 8 or the applicable shingle chapter of the SAM or contact Certainty Roofing Technical Services Department.
Very good, so we got one major question, 8-4. The proper mailing varies by the type of shingle and should A, be long enough to penetrate the roofing and then go 3/8 of an inch into the decking or through the thickness of the decking, whichever is less, or B, 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, very good. Now pay attention, thank you. All right. So, the next section is chapter 9, and it's pretty much special shape roofs. So what I did was, I put like a old throwback video, this is from the old training, because they didn't spend much time on it, but it's gonna help us, answer the questions. And I put it in here, kind of like, so the guy that created this whole master craftsman certification, retired from Certainty about 2 or 3 years ago. And this is one of his original videos. You'll be able to tell. That's his voice.
As an installer, you have to know how to do hip roofs, turrets, cones, and dormers. On a hip roof, there's 2 different ways you can do it. Refer to the standard actual application instructions. We recommend both water-resistant and waterproofing underlayment used on a hip roof. If you're applying water guards to both the eaves and hips, install it along the eaves first, then lock the water guard from the hip over the eave. Cones and turrets are labor intensive. About 5 times the labor involved in a standard roof. The first thing you want to do is apply water guard. It helps prevent leaks from the numerous joints required to install a turret. Then you snap chalk lines from the peak center point to the eave at intervals of a half tab. You'll have to gauge the size to ensure that the shingles lie flat and are uniform. And the shingle portions will get smaller as you reach the top. Refer to the scan for L-shaped and dormer roofs. The transition from the main roof to the dormer should always look smooth and of course prevent leaks.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the most basic, which is 3-tab. Most people do not use 3-tab anymore. It's still not popular in Texas, but we pretty much discontinued most of it, but some people do still use it for repairs. It's like, you know, and it's so weird because it is like, it's cheaper, or not because it's, you know, less quality, but the designer shingles and the architectural shingles, like the pricing is almost the same now. So why would you go, you just don't want to go to 3-tab. Like, they use it in like big projects, like apartment complexes, when they have like big jobs and they want to cut costs a little bit, and they use it, in those instances as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna watch the video since a lot of people in there are beginners, just so you can see, get a look at the XT20, they call it XT25 cars.
Certainty's XT25 is a 12-inch by 36-inch 3-tab shingle that is manufactured to have a dimensional tolerance of 1/16 of an inch. XT25 must be installed in slopes 2 to 12 and greater using nails that are corrosion resistant, 11 or 12 gauge, with a minimum 3/8 of an inch head and at least 1 inch long. For low slope applications, approved Certainty waterproofing shingle underlayment is required to be installed over the entire deck surface. 4 nails are required for each full shingle. For standard or steep slope applications, Certainty recommends non-deck or roof runner synthetic underlayment to be installed to the deck. For standard slope, 4 nails are required for each full shingle. For steep slope, 4 nails and 6 1-inch spots of asphalt roofing cement, meaning ASTM D 4586 Type 2, under each tap corner are required. While stone nailing is not required by CertainTeed, 6 nails can be used to secure each full shingle for installations susceptible to high winds. 6-course, 6-inch, stepped-off diagonal method, 5-inch exposure. Using CertainTeed Swift Start Starter, or starter course consisting of the shingles from which the lower 5-inch tabs have been removed, cut 6 inches off the length of the first starter course shingle only. Install in the lower left corner the sealant line as close as possible to the eaves edge, making sure there is 1/2 of an inch overhang when raising eaves if drip edge is being installed, or 3/4 of an inch overhang if no drip edge is to be installed. Fasten with 4 nails, 1 inch in from each edge, and a maximum of 3 inches up from the bottom. The inner 2 nails must be placed such that they fall at least 3 inches from the ring slots and end joints of overlying shingles on the first course. Continue with full-length starter course shingles along the eaves and rings. First course. Install a full-length 225 shingle at the lower left corner and align flush with the edges of the starter course. Nail in place. Second course. Cut 6 inches off the left side and install a 30-inch piece over and above the first course. Nail in place. Third course.
0 right
Cut
now.
12 inches off the left side and install a 24-inch piece over and above the second course.
Right now,
Nail in
0.
place. Fourth course. Cut 18 inches off the left side and install the 18-inch piece over and above the third course. Nail in place.
Yeah.
Fifth course. Cut 24 inches off the left side and install the 12-inch piece over and above the fourth course. Nail in place. Sixth course. Cut 30 inches off the left side and install the 6-inch piece over and above the fifth course. Nail in place. Install full shingles flush against the 6 applied courses, making sure that all XT25 shingles have a 5-inch exposure. As you go up the rig, repeat the same 6-course pattern starting with the full shingle. Finish courses with full shingles working from the eaves up. Use field shingles of a light color for capping hips and ridges. For additional information on XT25 installation, including alternate application methods, please refer to Chapter 10 of the STAM or contact CertainTeed's Roofing Technical Services Department.
Good. So 2-2 was the question. I already covered this one. Most of the contractors don't use it. But I figured it would be beneficial for you all, you know, as beginners, just to see everything. So, for a six-off application cut, 6 inches off the left end of a full shingle to start the second course. True or false? True. That is true. Very good. All right. So, this next section, page 102, is landmark. Landmark is our most popular product, and it's our #1 seller across the nation. Whether it's regular Landmark, Landmark Pro, Landmark Premium, just the Landmark series is our #1 seller. And here's a video, and the questions are on 102.
CertainTeed's Landmark series are architectural laminate shingles designed to replicate the appearance and dimensionality of true wood shape. Available in a variety of complex granular blends and shadow lines, the Landmark series also features Quadribond, Street Fighter, Certaseal, and Nail-Trap technology. Premium and Pro lines also offer maximum definition color blend technology to give the product new vibrancy. Landmark must be installed on slopes 2 and 12 and greater, using nails that are corrosion resistant, 11 or 12 gauge, with a minimum of 3/8 inch head and at least 1 inch long. For low slope applications,